In this video, we're going to create this cool engineering piece from scratch. I'm going to show you some techniques that you normally cannot do with booleans and bevels. Instead, we're going to be utilizing a sub-D approach while still utilizing our hard surface modeling techniques. Let's get started. Now, I do tend to go a little bit quick in my tutorials, so if you're new to hard surface modeling or need a little bit of a refresher, I'd highly recommend going through our free hard surface modeling jumpstart course. Over 70,000 students have went through it, tons of reviews in there, and it'll teach you modeling, all the modeling workflows we use, rendering hacks, different techniques. So if you're new to hard surface modeling or my tutorials are a little bit too quick for you, head to the link in the description and enroll in that course. Again, it is completely free. Now, I'm actually really excited for this video because I'm going to show you a lot of cool tricks, including a trick that you usually can't accomplish in Blender. So stick around for that. There's going to be a lot of useful information in here. So we're going to start with the cylinder. I'm going to make the vertex count 64, and I'm just going to right click to shade auto smooth. And by the way, I'm in an older version of Blender because honestly, I don't know why, but there's really not too much difference from 4.0 and 3.6. So if you're wondering why I'm in 3.6, I don't know. It's a good question. I think I just opened the wrong blend file, but literally all the tools are the same, so whatever. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just go into wireframe and let's box select this half right here. I'm going to just do that. Okay, and then we're just going to go into top view and extrude this. I don't know, somewhere around here should be fine, okay? And now we're going to have an object that kind of looks like this, which is great. Now, to be fair, I probably could have just taken a cube and beveled the edges and got the same result, but who cares? This is fine. So I want to get rid of all this nasty, geometry on the top. So let's just select everything, press X, limited dissolve, and we're going to set this to something really low, like 0.1. So that way it's only dissolving the flat areas here. There we go. So basically I just want to have a shape like this. Let me reset the origin to the geometry and then Shift S, selection to cursor. Again, I could have just taken a cube, scaled it, and then beveled the edges. I don't know, did it a different way for some reason. There we go. So we're going to scale this down a bit, maybe to around here should be okay. And then I'm going to press Control A to apply the scale. And now what I want to do is add in another cylinder. So Shift A, cylinder, right click to shade that smooth. And what I want to do is I want to align it on this side here perfectly. So I could eyeball it, but why guess when you can be accurate? So what we're going to do is go up here to vertex snap. I'm going to press G, X, and then hold Control and snap it here to one of these vertices at the end. There we go. And now we're going to have something like this, which is great. Now what I want to do is take this bottom face and snap it up here as well. So now we're basically, have something kind of like this. Great. So now what I want to do is I want to fuse this cylinder to this object here. So the easiest way to do that is with a union boolean. So all we do is we shift click on both of these. I'm going to press Control plus on the numpad, or with hard ops, you just press Q, booleans, and then union. And it's going to break, and that's because we have overlapping, geometry. Very easy fix. We go here to the boolean, change this to exact. Shout out Howard for making this all those years ago. Amazing new option here. So make sure turn on exact. Then what we're going to do is we're going to have to clean up the geometry here. So let me hide this cutter. And basically, if I go into edit mode here, you're going to see we have a little bit of a mess. So the first thing you need to do is if you have machine tools installed, which you should, go into the machine tools settings, make sure you have all these different options turned on here, clean up, smart face, smart vert, all that. Turn all of this on, and then you're going to press the 3 key. That's going to clean up any redundant geometry. And now what we need to do is we need to clean up this random garbage down here, and we do that by pressing X and then limited dissolve once again. And sometimes things still break. You're going to see we have a little bit of a mess here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to try to clean everything again. And then we're going to try to limited dissolve. And if that still doesn't work, you can also use a cool little tool called the 3D print toolbox. You just turn it on. It comes with Blender. And basically what you can do is you can literally go in here to this and click on check all. and you're going to see we have all these non-manifold edges. I could literally go in, just press F to fill that, and then try to limited dissolve again, or even just click on make manifold, and that's going to actually fix some of the issues. You can see those redundant vertices went away. And then, you know, if it's still a little bit messy, you can always get in here and just kind of patch this up manually. Very easy. What I'm going to do is just delete this bottom face here, and then just quickly dissolve out these random vertices here. Awesome. And then I can just hold Alt and then fill that in. That's what happens sometimes with the exact boolean. You just get messes kind of like that. And anyways, that should be fine. It's all cleaned up. Cool. So now we have a piece like this. This is fused together. Everything's clean. So now what I want to do is I want to actually have a bevel between these two intersecting points. So I want to have a bevel right here on this edge. But in polygon-based modeling software, this is not going to work at all. This is where you would actually need CAD. Let me show you. I'm going to show you a different solution, but if I were to go in here and I try to bevel this, it's going to kind of break over here. This is kind of the downside of a polygon-based modeling software. There's not too much you can do to sort this. So to get the bevel here that we want, this is where we would actually need to use subdivision surface. This is a prime example of where, you know, booleans and bevels just aren't going to work as the way we intended. So what we can actually do to solve this is use sub D, and I'm going to show you some really cool tricks here to achieve a clean bevel in this area. Now the first thing I want to mention is if we're running sub D, it's going to increase the resolution, meaning we should be starting with a lower poly version. And this one's a little bit higher poly. Remember, we had a 64 vertex cylinder. It's no problem at all. What I'm going to do here is I could either undo everything and just add in a lower resolution cylinder, or what I can do is check this out. I can go into wireframe, go into edge mode, literally just box select this, and then I'm going to go to select, checker deselect, and then control X to just make that lower resolution. I'm going to do that here as well. I'll just use the circle tool to select them, checker deselect, and make sure you're doing not the holding edge, but the one before it. Otherwise, it's going to hurt the bevel. This last edge is what's holding the curvature on the bevel. So we're just going to turn this to offset 1 and then control X to dissolve that. So now we have a much lower resolution object here, which is great. Now if I try to just go in here and run a sub D, it's going to turn into some sort of pumpkin or something crazy, and that's not what we want. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have we're going to have creases on the edges we want to hold, and we're going to just have a regular sub D on the areas we want to have rounded. It's probably confusing, so real quick, I'm going to press Control tilde and go to the sharpening menu here in HardOps and make sure you have this crease option turned on. What this is going to do, if I press the Q key and then click on sharpen, all the hard edges on here are going to be marked with a crease. So now if I run a sub D, it's actually going to kind of hold everything together except for this area here. So what I actually want to do is remove the crease on this portion here. So we select it and then press Q to unmark it. And now if I run a sub D, we're kind of getting something close to what we want. It still looks strange, and the reason it's doing this is because we have one massive n-gon right here. Sub D is not going to look very good on an n-gon. You can't subdivide n-gons very well. So basically what we need to do is just isolate the area where we want to have the bevel and retopologize that specific area only. It's probably confusing, but let me show you. So, you know, if I were lazy, I'd just use something like Quad Remesher and call it a day, but I'm going to show you a really cool solution. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just use Box Cutter. We're going to cut somewhere around here and then press the K key to run a knife cut. And now we're going to have something like this, just to cut straight through the object. So the first thing I want to do is select this edge, right click, and then subdivide, and then connect these two vertices up with the J key. And basically what we're going to do here is retopologize this area only. Next thing I'm going to do is maybe press a J to join these two. And then I'm just going to need 2 additional vertices. So I'll press Control R, scroll up, and then click. and then I'm just going to join these together with the J key, just like that. We're already getting a step closer. And now what I want to do is the same thing over here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices. So 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. Again, that's Control R. We're going to load those in and then join them up. Don't worry about how it looks right now. We'll fix it in a sec. But we just want to get this area retopologized first. Now, I'm going to keep this lined up a little bit better. So I'm going to select this edge and press G twice. And we're just going to kind of slide that over and just keep it consistent more or less. So maybe around here. Don't have to be perfect with it, just try to be good enough. And what I'm going to do is just use Symmetrize with Mesh Machine to symmetrize to the other side. You could also just use a hard ops mirror. So you press Alt X and we can apply that mirror. And now we have it on this side as well, which is great. So now what we can do is run a sub D, and you're going to see this is a lot better. You can see the higher I go on the sub D, the kind of smoother it gets, the more natural of a bevel we have. Now we have a little bit of pinching over here. I'm not too concerned about it, but we can fix it easily by just pressing Control R, and we're just going to join this area together here. There we go. So now most of that pinching will have gone away. You can always add in another one if you want to kind of, even it out a bit more. You get the idea. Okay, so now we have that bevel that we were going for. Some people would recommend, merging these really close areas together just for better effect. But this is about as good as we're going to get here. So now as you can see, I've basically isolated the area I retopologized just to get that clean kind of bevel formation. And if I wanted to, I could always go in here and, slide this around. If I want to tighten up that bevel, I can do that. Just kind of depends on like what type of effect you want on here. I think something like this will look pretty good. And again, you can kind of play with that and see what you like, what you don't like. You get the idea. Anyways, it looks pretty good to me. Now what I would recommend doing is pressing Alt V and then go into wireframe mode. Let's turn off the optimal display in the sub D. And we can just kind of see, the rest of this area is a mess because we're subdividing n-gons in the other areas of this mesh. As you can see here, we have a big n-gon over here. Here, you get the idea. Thing is, I don't care because I'm just going to remove all that junk anyways. So I think we can use a level 2 subdivision for this one. You don't want to go too low or it's going to look blocky. Too high might be a little bit too high resolution, which, is fine. How about we go with a 2? I think 2 is fine. What we're going to do is apply that sub D. And we're just going to clean this up by, again, selecting everything, X, and then limited dissolve. There we go. So now it's only going to dissolve the, junk on the flat faces and the areas that kind of have curvature here. In this particular area, you can see it's kind of holding all of that. You could increase this angle a bit if you wanted to push it a bit more forward. And honestly, that should be fine. I'm not too worried about it. But don't start dissolving this stuff because this is actually... If I go into side view, this is actually holding the curvature there, so you don't want to go too far. Anyways, now we have a nice bevel without having to use, a CAD software, as you can see. And I actually ended up limiting dissolve a little bit too much over here. So again, that's why I'd really, keep this as low as possible. If you can get away with it. Something around there would be fine. Let's just do 0.1. Can even slowly increase this. Maybe like right around here could be fine. Awesome. And then if you just have like extra garbage here, feel free to just dissolve that out. We'll just grab these, and there we go. And you might have some extra stuff over here as well. This, can be dissolved out as well. It doesn't matter too much. But what I can tell you for sure is you don't want to go any further than this. So let's just leave it there. And there we go. Now we have a nice bevel. Cool. So I'm not really trying to get super clean topology in this situation. All I'm trying to do is just get a nice bevel here. Alright, now what I'd like to do is let's go in here. Actually, let's press Alt X and then mirror this thing on the Z axis. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. And then I'm just going to apply that mirror modifier, just like that. And what I'd like to do at this point is let's take this face right here, Q, booleans, and then selection to boolean. We're going to move this in to about here. And then we're just going to cut all the way through, just like that. Awesome. And then sometimes the cavity feature turns off. I think that's a bug. We'll just turn that back on. There we go. And then what I'd like to do is, how about we just apply that boolean and then Control R to the inside, Control B. Then let's press E to extrude, right click to cancel, and then Alt S to scale along the normals, and then scale that a bit on the Z, and just make some sort of cool detail here on the inside. So just bevel this area. There we go, that looks pretty neat. And I want to make this area here a little bit higher, so let me just take these faces and move that up a little bit. Just add a mirror. It's a little bit too much, maybe to about here. And then we can just mirror that to the bottom. There we go. So now I want to focus on this area a little bit over here. So what I think I'm going to do is, how do I want to do this? Let's go to the cutters menu and see if we have any cutters we can use. I don't think we did. Yeah, we don't. Let's turn that off. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to steal this area here. So Control click, Shift D, right click, and then P to separate that by selection. I just want to take this area here. I'm going to move that up a little bit. And what I'm going to actually do is mirror this over itself. Now, if I press Alt X, the mirror point is going to be over here. So let me press Alt X, make sure this advanced feature is turned off. And actually, no, I want to turn this on, but I want the cursor, I want to mirror over the cursor, but the cursor is here right now. So what I'm going to do is take these two vertices, Shift S, and then cursor to selected. Now it'll be right there. So now if I press Alt X and try to mirror it, now I kind of have this cool looking effect, which is great. I can just apply that mirror, and then I can really just get in here and, you know, move this to my liking, maybe to about here. Let's just get in here and just get rid of this junk, which we don't need. And then I'm going to press A and then F to fill it, and then I to inset, maybe to about here. And then if I just invert the selection with Control I can delete out all these vertices here, which is great. Can even get in. Actually, no, we'll just leave those alone. I think that's holding the curvature. Awesome. So I basically just want to select this and extrude everything all the way down. Make sure your normals are correct. You can just press Shift N just to be safe. And then I'm going to right click to shade auto smooth, and then I'm just going to run, I don't want to cut all the way through, but maybe to about here. So right around here, can run a difference boolean. Right around here should be fine. And then I'm going to take this top face, move this down to about there. And then I'm going to take this bottom face and just scale that in a little bit. So scale it until it's, you know, roughly even on all sides, kind of like that. And then I can just shift click on sharpen to adjust that auto smooth. There we go. Now I would like to have a nice bevel here in the bottom. So let me press Q, ever scroll, get in here, and just kind of bevel that area a little bit. That looks pretty neat. And then I'll just apply that. Actually, yeah, let's apply it. There we go. And then just Control Shift click on sharpen to recalculate everything. That looks pretty good. Definitely looks nice. So now we kind of have, you know, a symmetry on the Z, but this area is not on the bottom. So we're kind of breaking the symmetry in a way. It looks cool. And then what I want to do is maybe just add in a cube and just make another cut down here and just do it the lazy way. And then just scale this all the way through, apply the scale, and then I can just get in here and just bevel this area, clean that up. And let's shade auto smooth and then run a difference boolean down here. There we go, looks pretty good. Then I'll show you a cool trick. I can actually take this cutter and I can move this face down right to the top there. And if I press Alt N to flip and then bevel, it'll bevel in the opposite direction, which is really cool. We can just adjust the sharpen there. I can even hide these Little empties, don't know why they're here. I think it was from the mirror. Can't select it, but you get the idea. We can actually go in here and turn off the extras so we don't see them. Awesome, now we have this cool looking shape. So let's apply the Boolean, and I'm gonna go into top view and maybe just make this a little bit longer. I think it'll look cooler. Yeah, it looks pretty neat. And then what I want to do is take this upper portion and add a chamfer to this. Now, if I press Control B and add a chamfer, it's going to stop us. That's because the clamp is about to overlap right here. So what we can do is press C to ignore that. The issue with this is if I add the bevel this or the chamfer this way, I'm going to have this mess. So I'm going to have to really get in here and just slide these areas away, and I just don't know what to select. Much easier way to do this is to actually press Q, Control click on mark. That'll add in a non-destructive bevel, so one that I can actually turn off and on. But the upside of this is I don't have access to that bevel geometry. It's just like it was before, right? So I can actually select the areas and slide this outside of the bevel, outside of the way. So that surrounding geometry causing these weird artifacts, all I have to do is literally just get in here and clean it up. I can just kind of merge these together. Don't have to get too fancy with it. I just want to get rid of those artifacts. There we go. You can also just adjust that bevel a little bit. And if you're still getting artifacts, you can always just, dissolve out some of these areas. You'll be fine. Cool. And then let's just mirror to the other side. That looks great. And then at this point, I think it's safe to just apply that bevel. There we go. And then I can also apply the mirror. And now we have this pretty clean looking piece. I'm not going to really adjust the bottom too much, but maybe here on the bottom, I could do the same thing. I could Alt-Shift click, just do a small chamfer down here, and just kind of, do something like that. Looks pretty good. So I think that does it for the modeling portion, and you could stop here if you wanted to. We do have a little bit of strange shading over here, not a problem. I can always get in and just kind of, bevel this area to isolate it, just dissolve out this junk. There we go, looks good. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to go into rendering mode. How about we render this thing? Why not? I don't know what I just did here. Oh, it's because I ran a symmetry. Whoops. Yeah, you got to be careful. If I symmetrize to the bottom, we're going to have the same thing on the bottom and top, which maybe you want that. I'm just going to leave it alone and just dissolve this out manually. There we go. Okay, so let's go in here. Let's go into cycles and make sure we're rendering on our GPU. And I'm going to be using the Abandoned Slipway HDRI from polyhaven.com. It is a free download, so get it. So I'll just go here to environment texture and then just open up that HDRI. So I have a ton. I'm just going to load in this one. There we go. And then if we go into rendering mode, we're going to see we have very flat lighting, which is great. Now I'm just going to turn that off. We're going to go here to the rendering panel, go to film, turn on transparent, so I don't have to see it. And at this point, we're just going to add in some textures to this, make it look a little bit more, interesting. So you could just use some basic Blender materials here. You could just add in a material, add some metallic values, and you'll have something decent. Issue is this looks very, plain, boring, not realistic. So instead what I'm going to use is Materialworks, which is our custom hard surface texturing add-on, and we actually have a brand new feature in this. I'm going to show you. There we go. So basically we have 50 different hard surface materials to choose from here. I'm going to go with the aluminum because it just makes sense, right? And make sure you're not on UV mode. It's going to look weird. Go to procedural mode. That'll also get rid of the seams. So you can kind of see we have a seam there, and we can actually get rid of it by blending it together. So there we go. And now what I want to do is also add in a bevel. We don't have to use a bevel modifier. We can just turn on this bevel feature here. Now we have a nice bevel. And then what I want to do is add in a little bit of wear and tear. This is actually a new feature. It is almost complete, should be out very soon. So I'm going to go to this button here, and that's going to turn on wear and tear. So I'm just going to kind of play with this a little bit. So how about we change this to dust? I don't want to use the edge. Just kind of slightly drop the strength. So now we have a little bit of like a layer of dust on there, which is great. I'm going to turn this one to 0. I don't need that. So now we have some dust on the aluminum, as you can see. Just a little bit, nothing crazy. Now my all-time favorite feature here, let me show you, is this edge wear option. So I'm actually going to do one more layer here. We're going to go to edge wear, and I'm going to turn on the edge feature. What this will do is add wear and tear to the edges only. Now check this out. I can actually go in here, increase the width, and now we have this really nice looking, kind of wear and tear right from the edges of the object here. I think this one here is going to be fine. We're just going to put that, I don't know, all the way up to 1 should be good. Now you can see we kind of have this cool looking wear and tear, maybe a little bit less. And I can even drop the strength a bit if that's too heavy. So now you just have like a very, very subtle, layer here of wear and tear. So we can kind of drop that down, which looks great. And we'll just add in another layer here. So basically you can add like as many as you want. A few bugs we're still patching out because there's just a few issues, but again, this should be sorted very soon. So we have like, even stuff like rust, which is interesting. If that's too many, you can always drop the scale and get in here and just make like a very subtle kind of like stains and stuff just to really, enhance the overall look. You can even add in some, additional edge wear. We just go in here and just play with it some more. And there we go, just like that, we have, a little bit more visual interest, just kind of making it look, more natural, more realistic looking. And this is way better than just a default Blender material. I mean, it's night and day difference. So if I were to add in, again, just a boring Blender material, just move this to the top, or remove this one rather, it's not the same. It's just boring. Nothing's going on with it. So this is a nice way just to make that, slight improvement in your portfolio that just looks better than everyone else's, because let's be real, everyone is producing the same junk. They're putting in 0 effort. They're not investing in themselves to make their work look better. It's just, very small stuff like this on your work can just, add that extra layer of realism, which is really what you want. So let's go ahead and render this thing. I'm going to press Shift A, go to plane. I'm just going to scale that up, and I could even, use a different material here from Material Works for the background. There's basic metal. I don't think camo would really look good here, but some sort of basic, simple background is all I really need for this thing. And you can really see how this kind of changes the lighting, makes it look better. So not bad. I can even rotate this. Let's actually Control A, Visual Geometry to Mesh, so that way it looks decent, and I can just kind of move that to the ground. I'm just trying to find like a cool, angle to render this thing. Just a very basic angle, nothing crazy. Could even play with some different, materials here on the ground. There's a different floor here we could try. And actually, I could even use the wear and tear on this one too. So what I could do, just go to wear, and then just add in an extra layer. Maybe we could use like a rust here. Let's try the rust C maybe. Actually, I don't think this is going to look very good, so I'm just going to use a more simple material instead. I don't really want to distract from the, important elements here. Just a very basic material, should probably be enough in this case. And then we can just do a simple looking render. And that's, really all you do. You press Shift A, you add in your camera. You can just kind of set up the camera angle. If you go up here, by the way, you just go to View, Align Active Camera to View, or you can press Control-Alt-0 on the numpad to do that. You can just kind of play with it, find a good, positioning. I could spend hours doing this if I really wanted to. And then you would just press F12 to render it, very basic stuff. I'm going to play with this a little bit off camera because I don't really want a sloppy render for this. But yeah, you get the idea. So that's how you do it. That is how you model a pretty interesting piece like this, one that would normally require CAD. you know, get some cool textures, get some good designs and things like that. So hope the video was useful. If you want to learn a little bit more about hard surface modeling, again, the free Jumpstart course in the description is the place to go. Tons of material in there for you to learn from. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.